Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Healing with Excellence podcast. This is your holistic health expert, Kimberly Miller. And today I'm here with two very special guests, Alexis and Jessica. And they're here to share their story over about the last year and a half of something that happened to Alexis, I think last April, because we want to help get the word out to help hopefully prevent misdiagnosis for other individuals and also hopefully a full healing for others that hear this podcast. Welcome to you two. How are you today?
We're doing well, thank you.
Good, good. Alexis, do you mind sharing with me? And again, mom and daughter are going to jump in and out of this during the conversation because, as you know, each of us have a good memory, but because one person saw it from the outside and one person felt it from the inside, we're going to share perspective from all of our angles. So that way, when someone else is listening, you're going to be able to relate to what it feels like as the family member, the mom, even sister had witnessed some things and then what it feels like to be the actual person living through it. But Alexis, what happened around last April of was that 2024?
Yes. So I had just turned 18 years old in March, and I was like finishing up my senior year of high school. So I went to the grad bash at Universal, which is basically like this long night from like 8 p.m. to 2 a.m. at Universal Studios in Florida.
Hmm.
And it's with kind of all the seniors of that year. So
Hmm.
my cousin and my mom chaperoned, and I went to that, and it was just normal. I was the one who drove home actually most of the way. And I just came, went to bed. It seemed fine. And I woke up the next morning and it was my little sister's birthday. So it was kind of the last thing I remember is wrapping gifts on the floor. And then I was like, woke up looking into a paramedic's eyes because what happened? I was like,
Because she stood up and made a strange sound, and I looked over at her and I was like, Alexis, Alexis, what's going on? And then she collapsed and had a seizure. So I recognized a seizure and called 911. It obviously was terrifying, and waited for the paramedics to come. By that time, she was done seizing and was unconscious,
Hmm.
and we were just keeping her calm. And I was getting ready to what I thought was be go to emergency. Um, and yeah, that started kind of the beginning of the journey. She didn't end up going to the hospital because she had come out by the time the paramedics came and they checked her vitals and were checking her sitting down, standing up, and they felt that she might have had a seizure. She might not. We could just observe her at home or take her into the hospital and they can observe her. But luckily at that time, my sister-in-law was visiting, who is a nurse. So I opted to keep her home because I knew she'd be more comfortable at home. And then having her and me, both of us watching her and kind of observing her. And if anything was going to go off, then we could take her into the hospital.
That makes sense. About how long would you say that first episode took place? 5 minutes, 15 minutes? About how long?
Well, of her being unconscious, including that part too.
Hmm.
Um, Probably about 15, 20 minutes. I
Okay.
mean, the season was only a few seconds. I probably, obviously as a mom, it feels like an eternity. But she was unconscious for quite a while. I
Wow.
mean, she would be kind of like she would open her eyes, but she wasn't really reacting to you. But we put a pillow under her head. We had her on her side. Um, Enough time to like go open our gate and move the cars around so the ambulance could get in place.
That makes sense. Okay, so that was the first episode. And then she
hmm
went a little bit without one, right? About how long would you say it was before the second one? I think there was five total before you and I met, correct?
yeah, the second one was in June because it was on our retreat, right?
hmm
Yeah,
By
so
that time, we had gone to see a neuro. So I took her into a doctor. We didn't even have a doctor per
Mm-hmm.
se because we mostly don't go to the doctor. So we found a doctor mainly because I knew she was going to need some testing. So I needed the services. So we went into a clinic. He did a whole workup on her.
Mm-hmm.
She is a competitive swimmer. Of course, he told us, well, she can't swim, which obviously we did not listen to that because of course she's going to swim, but that's her love in life. We obviously spoke to the coach, told him about what happened, that he had to be aware, and she also had to become, you know, buddies with people in her lane so they could keep an eye on for her in case there was to be another one, because apparently it's common for people to randomly have a one-off seizure
Right,
and
right.
never have one again. So we were hoping that she was going to be that one.
Yes.
But yeah, we
Yeah.
went to the neurologist. We got the well, actually, I think it was that doctor gave us the script for MRI and a CT scan.
Hmm.
So to make sure there was no brain bleed or tumor in there, anything that would be causing that, and everything was clear.
Great.
But yeah, then we went on an RV trip.
Hmm. And then, of course, that morning, as she said, I'm a competitive swimmer. So I was like, yeah, let's stay in shape. And so I went for a run. No,
Mm,
this was on an empty stomach as well. But yeah, I went for a run. I was kind of feeling like a little bit nauseous, but that's not uncommon. And I came back and I remember I was like standing in front of the door to the RV and it was just screen. So I was talking to my mom. And then all of a sudden, I was like, I kind of lost control of my body in a sense. Like I felt myself twitching. And she was like, Alexis, Alexis, but I couldn't respond.
mm.
So she didn't lose consciousness, but her body
Yeah.
did the actions of like tonic clonic basically, but I was able to catch her this
Yeah,
time.
I did lose control and kind of like fell to the ground, but luckily my mom was there, so it wasn't too hard.
Hmm.
Okay, so yeah, so we had that in April, and then in between April and June, you had a regular physician and a neurologist.
Hmm.
Hmm.
And did they give any formal diagnosis at that point, or they just thought it was a one-off?
Yeah, so before we went on that RV trip, um, when did we have your grad party? In May? Yeah. Then she had gone to the neurologist and he was surprised to see her because I think he was used to seeing older people. He was like, "What's this young, healthy looking lady in here for?" And we told him what happened. And so he ordered a EEG and
Hmm.
she did that with the flashing lights like right on her face, like really close to her face. And he called and said like she needs to be on Capra. Like I'm writing up the script right now. Go pick it up. And I said, well, what happened? I'm like, did she have a seizure during the a test? He's like, well, no, she
Right.
didn't, but it showed seizure-like activity. And I told him it was actually during the party. I told him, well, like we're gonna do some research on Keppra. I had not heard of that before, and I'll let you know. And he, of course, was not happy with that answer
Yeah.
because, obviously he throws in the scare bomb, like she could have a seizure and die. Like
Mm,
she cannot afford to have another seizure,
mhm,
because she could die. So,
mm.
yeah, and that obviously creates a lot of fear.
Yes.
But yeah, we carried on after the party. I told him Alexis what he said, and she did her own research because she was 18 now. I was like, you need to be responsible now. You have to make your own health decisions. I read it already in the little brief time that I had researched, and I was like, "Yeah, I'm not doing that, but it's her life." So she looked it up herself and then went on Reddit and heard of other people's experiences on Capra and was really like, yeah, I'm not doing that.
Okay,
Hmm.
good. And then when the one happened, oh, go ahead, Alexis. Go ahead. What were we gonna say?
Yeah, so that's where the formal, yeah, and then we never went back to that neurologist guy again.
Yeah,
Oh,
because he wasn't really interested in giving us answers per se, because I mean, obviously I'm just turned 18, like I'm really fit, competitive swimmer, like why would I have a seizure? That's kind of what we wanted to know. And instead of he wasn't even really interested in the story.
I don't think he knew. He just said,
Yeah.
people develop them now and we don't really know why, but you have to take this medicine from now on for the rest of your life. Like that's just it.
Yeah, so kind of instead of, I mean, obviously it's a little bit alarming at first, but kind of doing some more research. And then my mom and I obviously decided not to just act out of fear and go on that medication. We kind of wanted to do more digging and really understand like what this was about.
Mhm.
yeah, and I know you're going through a little bit of what I went through in the past. You think you're going to go to an expert, a specialist that's going to help you figure out why it happened, especially if it's only once. You don't want to just start a drug if it's one time,
Yeah.
it's not debilitating your life. You kind of want to know what that was. And it's sad if they don't ask the questions, they can never figure out the correlations. And it just seems like it's a random event because they're not putting
Hmm.
the puzzle pieces together. So after the one in June, that sounds like it was a shorter, episode. Did you guys
Hmm.
go back to any specialist after that, or you just kept going after that camping trip?
Yeah, after that camping trip, then what was the next one?
I'm trying to remember that right now.
That was the one in the pool, isn't it?
Yeah.
Hmm. That was
At
in
the pool,
October.
right? You were swimming
Yeah.
and we found you in the bottom of the pool.
Hmm. Yeah, that was in the
Okay.
beginning of
Yeah,
October.
yeah, it was the beginning of October. That's what
Yeah.
it
You
was.
went from June to October with no episodes.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And then in October, you were swimming. And
Yeah, I had just gotten in for morning practice and I thought of it like I just felt normal, not really any signs. And then I remember like waking up and like kind of looking over me. I was like laying on still in the water. My sister and my friend were holding me up and my head was in the gutter. And I remember just kind of like looking over, my coach is just looking down at me. I was like, what in the world? And then everybody's like, Alexis, you had a seizure. I was like, what? Like, I'm at practice. What do you mean?
that would be so scary for everybody else involved.
Yes, that's what made me feel bad, and it was in front of like my whole club team and the whole high school team that was there. So I kind of traumatized a lot of people, I think. They still bring it up sometimes as a joke now, but
Yeah. Now I
yeah,
know.
he said I was just like I was swimming, and then he thought I had kind of like dove to go grab something from the bottom of the pool or something, and he saw me like down there basically twitching. So he's like, "Sophie, go get her."
Wow. The blessing was that you had a lot of expert swimmers there, but
I
that's
did.
very scary. Yeah. So then
I did.
after that one, I know you guys had two more. I know one was very unique. But so after that one, because that was so serious, did you go to somewhere looking for help after October for more diagnosis or more answers, so to speak?
I think that's when I was looking for, instead of going to a neurologist that treats so many different neurological issues, like this gentleman that we had gone to in Brooksville, he was mostly dealing with like multiple sclerosis, dementia, like there was a lot of older people in his office.
Hmm.
So I researched, and there's actually an epilepsy specialist, and I can't remember how you say that name, whatever,
You're
experts in
good. Yeah.
epilepsy.
Hmm.
So there's an epilepsy center in Orlando. So we drove, I made an appointment there and we drove there
Hmm.
and went to see, we didn't actually get to see the neurologist. We saw the physician's assistant or the assistant, which was probably the better thing.
Okay.
She was a little bit more not going to just kick us out of the office.
Yeah, she's
Okay.
willing to listen. Yeah.
But
Okay.
we kind of knew it was a bad decision as soon as we were sitting in that waiting room because it was just advertisements for all the pharmaceutical drugs. And we're like, that's not the solution we were looking for. Like they have an epilepsy clinic where you like sit, with the little probes on you and just live your life. And they kind of try to like cause a little bit of pressure on different parts of you, like sleep deprivation thing to cause it to see if they can pinpoint. So I thought, well, that's more information that would be beneficial to us, right?
Mhm.
But you don't even get to do that until you've like passed through all the drugs and none of those drugs work for you.
Oh my gosh. So they do that
Yeah.
afterwards when you should do that as a first, the front end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so how long did that visit last, or did they ask you any good questions? Did you feel like you got any good guidance?
No, we were mostly asking the questions, definitely. We kind of kept
Okay.
probing through
Okay.
her.
And she didn't really have like she just again they just say we don't know what causes them.
Mm.
We just have these pharmaceuticals for assistance. And we can, and Alexis kept asking you like, was there anything else like more natural that or
Hmm.
like something that I can do to support my body? And she, I mean, the only thing she finally kind of gave into was a vitamin B6,
Yeah.
test, which we had already done. Because remember,
Oh,
we had done the nutrition
oh yeah,
detective.
when did we do that?
Oh yeah, when did you put the nutrition detective in there?
It's kind of all happening simultaneous. As a mom, when you have your child, struggling through something, you become a detective yourself.
Yes, you do. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a
Okay.
worried mom does better detective work than the FBI. So I was just simultaneously looking for anything that would support her and help her
Yes,
in
and
healing.
then when you went to the epilepsy center, I don't know if you can remember this off the top of your head. Was that a self-pay visit or was it covered under some kind of insurance?
I did have insurance, but because it's a specialist and you have to pay that copay.
Okay. Do you know about how much their
Yeah.
copay is?
I think it was 45.
Okay, so not too bad. Some of the specialists that are like that might be 400 for like a 10-minute visit and then there's no answers.
Yeah. But
Um,
I have insurance, so the rest of it was covered by insurance.
okay.
So total billed amount, I'm not sure about that. I could look that up though. I'm sure it was a lot.
Okay, yeah, and so you went to, but there they didn't do any fancy test, right?
No.
She did a little muscle test. That was about it.
Okay. And then you had had the nutrition detective, and at this point, because I think you also went to the Axe Clinic or something comparable.
We went
Dr.
to a chiropractor. I'm not sure what Axe
Oh, so
Clinic
not
is.
not Dr. Axe. So okay, so Dr.
No.
Fowler, Garrett Smith,
It
the
was Dr. Fowler,
neurologist,
yeah.
primary care. Okay, okay. And then so
Hmm.
had you already started Dr. Fowler at this point, or you already seen him for regular chiropractic care?
I think we had started before that one in the water.
I think we had, yeah.
Yeah, because
After it
we
was after the second one.
because so at the chiropractor we learned that she has something with is it second or the third vertebrae is called basal invagination, where it kind of tilts a little bit into that space, so it has a little less space than most people do.
Between the spine and the brainstem, yeah.
So possibly a little bit of pressure there. But yeah, so with Dr. Fowler, our chiropractor, we were trying to figure out like, was the misalignment causing the seizure or the seizure causing the misalignment? But then she would be getting all this, she did the whole circuit of it and it wasn't
Yeah.
really stopping him.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. So by the time October, right after October, you had done some supplementation, some diagnostic testing, multiple chiropractic visits, neurology,
Mhm.
regular practitioner, and then a specialty clinic. So now after that visit with the epilepsy center, because before you met me, there was still two more. What happened after that, if you remember? I know one time you said your personality changed around one of
Yeah.
your
That was
friends.
that morning one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hadn't really noticed it, but that's what my friends kind of said after.
Hmm.
They said I was kind of like not myself. Like one girl like said hi to me. She said I ignored her. Honestly, I don't remember that at all. Like that's not like me at all, but
But I think Kim's referring to the one with Alex on
Yeah.
Halloween. So October
personality
31st.
change.
Well, your personality
You're
during the
like
seizure.
laughing
Yeah,
or
yeah, yeah.
No, she
something.
was yelling apparently,
Yeah,
screaming.
so usually it comes out as it's kind of embarrassing, but usually it comes out as like a cry and then like afterward while I'm unconscious I'll be like crying.
Sobbing.
Like actually like sobbing, crying. Like
Aw.
think somebody's died kind of crying. Um but yeah, unfortunately I had one with my boyfriend too. We were like just standing in his living room handing out Halloween candy because we were about to go out to eat. And
Hmm.
then yeah, that was kind of the last thing I remember. And then I woke up and then yeah, it's kind of foggy after that, but he said I had another grand mal seizure and I was like screaming at the top of my
Wow.
lungs. He's like, I wanted to put my hand over your mouth because I didn't want the neighbors to come, but like I wanted you to be able to breathe. And so yeah, there was that and then I think I passed out for a while after that.
That's scary.
Um
It takes her a good day. Like the rest of the day, she's kind of toast.
yeah. After yeah, it's like I'm passed out for what would you say about 20 minutes after. Just kind of
Hmm.
unconscious. And this was his first time seeing a seizure too. Oopsies.
Oh.
Um, and then yeah, I usually I'm really nauseous after that.
Mhm.
So I'll throw up, I'll go to sleep for about 5 or 6 hours, and for a few days after it feels kind of foggy almost.
Mhm.
Like it's hard to like remember everything and just yeah, it's kind of like a big brain fog.
Okay,
Like a
that
hangover.
makes sense. Yeah,
Yeah.
it feels like you could been hit by a bus or like horrible COVID or something afterwards.
Yeah.
Horrible flu.
Honestly, it is.
Yeah. So now I think there's only one more that I don't know if it was your sister that was around before you and I met. What else happened with that, or do you remember?
That was November 9th. That was the day of the hurricane. So we were all prepping outside during the hurricane. And yeah, she had
And
one
yeah.
on the,
I
and
was just walking down the hall. I had just woken up at like 10 a.m., slept
Mm.
in, and then I was just walking down the hall back to my room to go get dressed or something. And then apparently I fell on top of a box of books and had a seizure.
Oh my
So
gosh.
all my sisters were there, so one lifted me off the box of books, and then yeah.
I'm so glad you're still safe with all that. But the reason I wanted to share those five different occurrences because individuals that are going through this, everybody it presents slightly different. And that's why
Hmm.
many people are misdiagnosed because it might not actually be seizures, but it's causing seizure-like activity based on the root cause. And so many people, and just like for you, yours presented slightly different almost each time, so
Yeah.
it's not always the same. And that's what makes it sometimes difficult for a medical professional to figure out, especially if they're not asking enough questions. So after
Mhm.
that, I think you got some more adjustments. Did you do any other medical professionals after that last one in November, or was that when Fowler said maybe you want to try this other woman?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Dr. Fowler, he's amazing.
We
He was
basically ran
really
the gamut and he was just
yeah.
kind of like,
He's been trying to help us this entire time. Like he honestly didn't really know either, but he's like, this is what I know, this is what we can do. And
mhm.
then he was really frustrated with me after that, like last one.
Not with her, but just that
Like, yeah, not
he
with me,
couldn't
but
help her.
like along with me. Like he felt my frustration. He understood, so he's like, what did he say?
Yeah, you
I
can
don't think
say it
he
the weird way.
knew.
It's okay. You can say it the weird way. Go ahead. You're good.
Okay, so he obviously has never met you and doesn't really know what you're saying. He's like, I don't know how into, what did he call it?
It was like
Woo-woo. woo-woo stuff you are. And I'm like, I love woo-woo. But he's like, I've heard this person and she has helped a lot of people. And so he went and printed off your information, like the Healing with Excellence. And of course, I'm looking at this direction, I'm going, wow, she lives 10 minutes from my house. This is amazing. Yeah. And he said, yeah, like, why don't give her a try? Like, I don't know what else to tell you guys. I'm like, sorry that I can't help you with more.
Yeah, he's just kind of trying to help us find another direction to look.
Yeah, I've heard wonderful things about him, and we've cross-referred, even though we've never met in person. One of his employees I know personally, but I know he's an upper cervical spine specialist. So if I ever do work with
Mhm.
a chiropractor, I either refer to one that's good with just doing 1 to 3 adjustments and not keeping someone there all the time, or someone that's a specialist with upper cervical spine because you want someone that's really good at that when you're working with
Mhm.
C1, C2. So I'd heard wonderful things about him, and we do have a lot of mutual patients because they tend to seek out the best of the best, and we just kind of start to get in that, niche of who really cares about their patients and their clients. So
Mhm.
I'm super grateful
Definitely.
that he was willing to refer. And then, so when we first met, what was different, if you can remember back, about that first session than the neurologist, the physician? What did we do differently, as far as your intake and what questions we discussed, if you can remember?
Want me to go first?
Yep.
Very first question, you said, tell me everything.
Hmm.
I want to know everything from before. I want to know exactly what happened, how you felt, and then you wanted to know my opinion as to what I saw. And that was like finally is like where for me personally, it's like finally I feel heard.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Like somebody wants to know the whole picture.
Mm-hmm.
What do
Yeah.
you do in every day? Well, what's your training schedule like? Well, what do you eat? Like, and then with when you do that, you're shining light on things like, oh yeah, ooh, maybe that's not the best thing, or yeah, you didn't eat that day,
Yeah, and it was different types of questions as well, because definitely Dr. Fowler was like that too. Like he
Mhm.
had more care. He wanted to know the story. He was like obviously very interested in
Holistic.
yeah,
Yeah.
holistic, but he did muscle tests and he noticed something was kind of off with the muscles in my neck, and we were
Hmm.
trying to figure out why that thing kept popping off. So he would like ask me to show him things I was doing in my stroke, and yeah, he didn't really know much about swimming, but he went home and researched it and helped me like maybe figure out how to swim with a snorkel so I'm not turning my head that way. But when we came to you, you were asking like different questions as well. Like definitely diet was a big part of yours.
Hmm.
You asked for any like traumas that had happened recently.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just kind of stuff along that line.
Yeah, no, I know the thing, and I was so grateful that I'd been through a similar experience because I remember saying, "What did you do the day before?" And as soon as you said grad bash, I'm like, "Did you ride a roller coaster?" And you're like, "I
Mhm.
did ride a roller coaster," but because you feel well driving home, you don't think anything. And I had had a serious, again, I love the roller coaster, but I remember having like a small version of whiplash on the Incredible Hulk at Universal. But because I was having fun, I like blew it off. It caused a headache, but I knew that there was a high likelihood that something happened to your neck that night. And because it's, having fun, you may have went longer without eating, you might have had things your body doesn't want. And so a lot of us don't realize or have not been taught that our nervous system works based on what we feed it. And if we don't give it something it needs, it can glitch. Or if we give it like a chemical it doesn't like, it can cause a misfiring. And then it starts causing a problem in the neuromuscular system, how the brain communicates to the muscles and how the muscles communicate back to the brain. So as soon as you
Yeah.
mentioned that, I had a feeling you had a neuromuscular compensation going on in the physical body, but that you might also have had something like excess stress taking place in the previous year, that everything was just compounding, that it wasn't like just one specific factor, it was like six things compounding together. Does that make sense?
A
Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah, but I definitely didn't believe you had epilepsy just out of the blue at 18. And half the time, most people I meet with, it's a junk generic diagnosis because nobody's asking questions. They just give it a label because it looks like this versus looking at the pieces that we miss in conventional or allopathic medicine. So I know a couple of things you and I did. We did a neuromuscular assessment and we did find that you had a neck muscle that was neuromuscularly compensating for other muscles in your body, right?
Hmm.
And when that muscle gets too tight, it slightly occludes the artery and will cause like seizure-like activity or stroke-like symptoms, a change in behavior. It can also be impeding a nerve too. So it can be impacting the nerve and the artery at the same time. And so it
Yeah.
could again, present differently. So how did you feel after we did that first muscle test and we started talking about like the correctives you had to do and the nutrition to feed your lean body mass? What did you think after that first session?
Honestly, I remember telling my mom like this, it just feels more right.
Hmm.
It made a lot more sense to me, especially when you like kind of took the diagrams out to break it down to like show me what was happening. And because I could really see that and like see how like what I was doing in my everyday life that would cause that.
Hmm.
It just yeah, it made a lot more sense. And then it kind of gave me a lot more hope because it's like, okay, this is something I can work on. This is something I can like control.
Hmm.
Yeah, I went from being a hopeless to a hopeful.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I really was grateful that we had met because for me, nothing seemed ambiguous. Everything seemed to have an answer. And the only time I tell people, like, we got to dig deeper, I'm a little concerned, is if something's not matching in the body or what the person's telling me. But everything kind of matched everything you were saying. So I was grateful for you guys being good detectives and sharing like the whole picture. And then what a lot
Mhm.
of people don't realize is that what we were talking about with Alexis being a collegiate swimmer or competitive, what happens is she's very driven mentally, physically. And I went through a lot of this when I was her age that we don't realize how much energy we're burning through. And sometimes when we're training our regular schedule, we won't realize we're slightly wasting our lean body mass, like bone, muscle, nerves, heart tissue, to get that energy output because no one's really teaching us the caloric need to sustain that or the macro and micronutrient need. And so it puts us in a slightly compromised position. Whereas we hit 18, 19, 20, we're more likely to be hit with something. Like right now in the United States, 54% of 20 to 30-year-olds are being diagnosed with an incurable disease, MS, Crohn's, cancer, and those are the top diseases they're being diagnosed with. And it's not that they're incurable, it's that nobody's giving them these answers that you and I talked about what fuel your body needs, how to reduce the stress, and how to fix these neuromuscular compensations that are causing you to leak energy that you don't know where you're losing the energy or where the communication is being cut off from the brain to the muscles, you know?
Mhm.
Um,
Absolutely.
yeah, so you left there, you did the corrective exercises, you started fueling your body to match your lean body mass needs. You started adjusting your exercise routine a little bit because some of your exercises could have caused those muscles to continue to stay tight. Being a swimmer and being right side dominant with your head turn, that could keep it there. That's why you were getting that special mass that you had researched. So I think we only saw each other two more times after that, correct? Before we did a follow-up recently. I think three
I
total
think so.
visits.
I think
But
so, yeah.
but in between, you had no further episodes until we had a special trip, right? So what month did we meet? Can you remember? Was it December or January?
The first time was in December.
Yeah.
Yeah, December, because I know we were going to do a podcast at her 6 month anniversary. And then
Hmm.
she did a trip up north, right? Was that a competition, that trip that you did in, was it May?
It was a competition for my younger sisters, so I kind of just went along for a vacation.
Hmm.
Okay, okay. So Alexis had had no episodes after our very first visit. We just did one or two follow-ups to make sure everything was good and that the muscles had corrected, and just to help with general fitness and with her schedule to keep her vital. And then her and
And
I
more
were,
than that, like reinsurance for us too.
Yeah.
of course, yeah, because who would
Yeah.
think, oh, one session's going to fix it all? And for me
Yeah.
too, I like to follow up to make sure I'm not missing anything. So,
Right.
but then Alexis and I were going to do our 6 month podcast just to show that she went 6 months seizure free or whatever that episode was. And then she reached out to me and told me she'd had an episode after a flight up north. And then we got back together. And at that time, I was so passionate. I was like, oh my gosh, because I was worried about saving Alexis and saving your guys'
Hmm.
stress. There's been so many people I've been meeting with recently that have been, again, just so tortured by actually functional medicine and conventional medicine because of how much contradicting information it is and not knowing what to do. So, anyway, when
Mhm.
we got together, that episode that did happen, what had happened that day when you flew up north that was different than normal, that might have triggered your body to get pushed over the edge?
Well, we did fly for the first time in a while.
Hmm.
Uh, yeah. I
You're
mean,
feeling nervous about it.
yeah, I was kind of nervous about flying, but.
When I remember you telling me you hated running, but after that flight, you decided to run as fast as possible on the treadmill that night, right?
Well, yeah, I did hate running, but unfortunately, I do it a lot as part of my training.
Yes.
So of course, yet again, I go on a trip and I'm like, I'm gonna be a great athlete. So I hit the gym with my sister, and she was on the her like bike. I was on the treadmill next to her. I swear we took a video 1 minute before I started seizing. I was yet again, I was like feeling a little bit nauseous, but that's not uncommon when I run because I just really don't like running.
Hmm.
Um, and so I had finished my mile. I was like, whatever. I got off to go get some water,
Hmm.
and then that was the last thing I remember. 1 minute before we had been taking a video, and then the next minute I was like seizing on the gym floor.
Oh gosh, yeah, that's horrible. So then after we got back together to discuss why that happened, we talked about that once you have the cells get past a certain stress threshold, sometimes they don't want certain foods, sometimes they don't want all that stress in one day. So we
Hmm.
don't find it stressful to do a flight and run on the treadmill and eat a bagel, but the body is like, wait a minute, you're going to have completely different foods. You're going to do this running and you're going to have the flight. And so it's
Hmm.
like, wait a minute, I'm feeling good, but I don't want to push past that point. And if you guys have to get any message, it's okay, you can, you know. And don't worry, we only have about less than 10 minutes left. So we try to keep this less than about 45 minutes so listeners and viewers have time to get it in. So when we met, you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize that all those things could happen again. When I first started healing from Epstein-Barr, I was feeling amazing. And then all of a sudden, I had this just very full weekend. And then by the next Monday, I really felt like almost I was back at square one. I didn't realize that if I put the cells past a certain level of stress, that they couldn't sustain homeostasis and that I might exhibit the same symptoms as I had
Hmm.
before, but that it doesn't have to be permanent. So after that day, you haven't had another episode since then, right?
I have not, but I'd say that that day kind of, I mean, even after our meeting, kind of unlocked like a new part of the healing for me.
Hmm.
So, with Dr. Fowler, he said, basically every like physical, what do you call it? Not,
Condition?
yeah, condition,
Mhm.
can be attributed to trauma, thoughts, and toxins, or a
Yeah.
combination of all three, obviously.
Yeah.
So, I think we've gone through the toxins, obviously, like with that, detective
Nutrition
nutrition
detective.
detective, obviously with the diet sort of thing.
Hmm.
Um, and then the trauma, obviously, like I lost my dad, probably was it like about a year before they started.
Hmm.
So there was that too, and like the trauma, physical trauma of maybe getting whiplash
Hmm.
and what I was doing in exercise sort of thing. But the section that we hadn't really touched with was the thoughts. And that's
Hmm.
where Mama comes in. Yet again, great researcher. So it was kind of like I was kind of confused because yes, that is a lot of stress in one day, but like
Hmm.
I feel like I should be able to handle that. Yet again, I'm 19 now, really fit. I have been through very stressful things before. So I was kind of like, why is this still happening? I've
Yeah.
been eating well. I've been massaging like literally 4 times a day, like have not missed a day. I fixed my sleeping position. I fixed my like workout habits. Like, why does it come back? So obviously, there's a biological level to thoughts as
Hmm.
well. Each thought releases like neurotransmitters, which will affect your nervous system.
Hmm.
So it was kind of going back and examining the cycles and like specifically like doing research on what thought cycles are attributed to seizures. I'm
Yeah.
not going to say epilepsy because I don't have epilepsy, but like what specific thought cycles are, what's the word? Common with people having that have seizures and kind of how that relates to me. And I found out that it actually really did relate to me.
Yes.
And basically it was the main thing is like a feeling of unsafety, which obviously if you're feeling unsafe kind of in your subconscious all the time, you're gonna stay in like that flight or flight mode, right?
100%.
So and it's kind of honestly true for sports as well. The athletes who like no matter how much they roll out, they like stretch out and stuff, they're still so tight. It's because they're stuck in that flight or flight mode, right?
Yeah. What
So
about the adrenaline?
honestly, like
Go ahead.
pardon?
Mhm.
Yeah,
Adrenaline.
the adrenaline and yeah, just kind of that not able to relax.
Yeah.
So I kind of, like took a look at that and I realized like yes, I'm taking excellent care of my body, but where it comes to my mind, I feel like I kind of neglected it a little bit to
Hmm.
say, and just kind of starting to be aware of these thought patterns, how they like were physically affecting me, because obviously every single thought has a physical effect on your body. And then just seeing if, I mean, through like affirmations and through kind of talking with my mom and realizing where this was coming from and how it applies to everyday life, seeing if I can change these patterns
Mhm.
so that it can like we can fully break the cycle here.
Yeah, no, and
I
100% you will. Go ahead, Jessica.
I was just going to say another thing with that day on the plane is she was carrying an incredibly heavy backpack and she would
Mhm.
have it on one side, which was her bad side,
Mhm.
which was like,
Yeah.
right out of it, all that thing. But another thing is now she's saying that she'll feel the muscles start to tense. And before she would be physically massaging it, now she'd be like, okay, I feel this tightening up. And now she's kind of in her mind, like, calm down. I'm safe. Like, you don't need to tighten. We're relaxed.
Yeah, like I was so kind of almost neurotic about it before. Like I need to have my specific diet. When I feel these muscles tensing up, like I automatically just kind of grab my neck and start massaging it like that, you know? And so now I'm realizing like I have control over what my muscles are doing. They were tight because of what was going on in my head. I can loosen them by what's going on in my head.
I'm
So
so
I've like
yeah.
yeah. So I've honestly kind of gotten out of the habit. I massage it when it feels tight, but just kind of when I feel something start to cramp up, I like pay attention what's mentally going on right now
Good.
and just like take a deep breath, realize like
Yeah.
there's that feeling of unsafety and I can change that.
That's perfect. Yeah, and the correctives that you and I do are normally only valid about 2 or 3 weeks because the patterns change based just like if
Exactly.
you
Yeah.
hit a pothole and your car goes out of alignment, it could change. But no, in the Take Control of Your Health course that I teach, it's a condensed version of that information, but I teach a very in-depth 2 day, like 16-hour course on customized cell regeneration on how you get your cells to regenerate quicker and reduce cell
Hmm.
mutation and cellular death. And that's actually one of the largest pieces is the mind. When I
Yeah.
first started healing from Epstein-Barr, I did the physical, I did the toxin removal, I changed my diet, and the last thing I focused on was my mind. But as you rewrite the thoughts and what you're telling yourself, because you do have like 60 to 80,000 thoughts per day, and if
Hmm.
80% of them are intense or like being hard on yourself or thinking about everything you got to do, plus dealing with past trauma and grief, that
Hmm.
already has your nervous system heightened. It has the cortisol levels higher. It also has an inflammatory protein level higher in your body. And then we couple that with maybe not the best diet, the pressure of the plane, excess exercise. Because, we talked about when you're in group sports, you can't necessarily completely tailor your training program specific to
Yeah.
yourself either. So sometimes the time of day you're having to train, how you're training, you're okay with it because you're driven, but your body's like, I'm not okay with it. And so
Hmm.
I thought just like you, wait, I'm 19, I'm going to school, I'm working out and I'm working. What's so bad about that? Like it's normal. I should be able to handle this. But I didn't know the intensity and the drive of my mind was
Hmm.
different than maybe the average person. And I also
Yeah.
didn't realize the way we live today is much different than what God and nature intended. So even if we are working, going to school and exercising, there's so many other external toxins or changes to our environment that is not the same as 70 years ago. And that's why
Hmm.
we have, sadly, the sickest developed country in the world, even with people trying to be healthy, because we're getting, again, not enough details or misinformation. Or like again, too much personal stress. But I'm so glad that you guys went through that entire, like everything came full circle.
Hmm.
Exactly.
And
100%.
I will throw it out there. I was very, very resistant to the thought portion of it ever since the very beginning. My
Yeah, yeah,
mom would bring it up, and I was kind of like, no, like that has nothing to do with it.
yeah,
So I will say it's worth looking at for people who are like resistant or critical or just don't think it has much validity. You can't
yeah.
fully heal until you visited that.
That's all. Yeah, no, I really like that a lot with like in rheumatism and things like that. It's always connected to thoughts. But go ahead, Jess, what were you going to say?
I was just going to say, as you know, it's like the only person who can actually heal you is you.
Yeah.
Amen. Yeah, you just have to be willing to apply. And it is important, though, like you said, to have people around you that are looking at the whole picture. Because if you get all the puzzle pieces, you can put the puzzle together. But if nobody gives you the
Exactly.
puzzle piece, how can you heal you if you don't know where to look? And if you think
Yeah.
Yeah.
the specialist is the one and then they don't have the answer, it gets scary. So no.
Yeah.
So I'm super grateful. We've only had one episode in what, like 8 months now?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that episode we can completely equate it to what happened. Now you know kind of what to do with it. It's to me, it's been profound and absolutely amazing. I'm grateful you have no formal diagnosis. You just had some malfunctions going on due to chronic cellular stress in the body, and then once you learned how to correct it, you guys took the ownership and kind of fixed it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome. So the only thing I
Yeah.
want you to take away from this, and anybody, we're never fully healed. The human body is a moving target and it's always changing, it's always evolving, it's always growing. So we're good as long as we treat our body well, our body can sustain homeostasis, which is just a balance of all organ systems. If we get too past a certain threshold of stress, whether it's mental stress, physical, chemical, whatever it is, once we get past that pushing point, everybody's body, nobody is immune to this, will have some type of symptom. So my
Mhm.
body back at your age would display through my menstrual cycle, through irritable bowel syndrome, and through like irrational mood swings. That's how my body would display symptoms back when I was 19. Someone else, it might be high blood pressure, it might be vertigo, dizziness, or blood sugar problems. Every single person's body, if we're not allowing it, the ecosystem internally and externally to maintain homeostasis, it cannot operate as effectively as it should. And it communicates to us through symptoms that something's off. You just need help to, through a good body detective and through your work, to find out what does the baby want. The baby's going to keep crying until you give it what it needs. Once you give it what it needs, it stops crying. And so both of you, because you're so good at ownership of your health, you're going to maintain a very high quality of life. And anytime you, if you do go through a trauma or there's something that's pushing your body past a point, like several competitions, you just want to do everything else in your power to pour into your body to offset that stress. So that way your body can maintain homeostasis even through those stressors that are outside of our control, right?
100%. Yeah, excellent. Hmm.
Are there any other questions, thoughts, or anything you want to say before we sign off today?
Yeah, I think just thank you.
No,
Thank
thank
you
you.
for being such a big part of our puzzle and helping us. Yeah,
Yeah.
we've learned so much. I really enjoyed yeah, all of our meetings and the extra information that you gave us that were kind of like the basic building blocks. It's just benefited not just Alexis, but our whole family.
Yeah.
And we're all
Well, thank
getting
you for
better.
your trust. And I'm so grateful that we broke that cycle so that way you're free and you get to compete. I'm so excited that you're going to college and still be a competitive swimmer. All right, guys,
Thank you.
have a beautiful day. I'm just going to stop the recording. Okay.